Good afternoon, everybody. We Paddy from across the Shuck, and you're very, very welcome. As you can see by the title, this is my collection of Imperial Ireland knives, and I'm going to give a wee bit of history. I don't know how factual it is. I'm not exactly oversure, but it's the best I could do on short notice. So, Imperial knives, and we all think of Imperial Schrade, Imperial or Imperial Schrade because of the takeovers. But it didn't start out that way. It started out with a company called Jowika, Jowika. I'm not sure if that's a pronunciation. It was a German company. It was put together by two fellas, Johann and Wilhelm, and that's where the Jowika was a mixture of their names put together. And they started in 1928. In the 1930s, they were taken over by a fella called Weber, a German knife maker or businessman, and they made knives in Germany. It wasn't until the 1960s that they came over to Ireland and opened up a factory to make knives over here. And they were more along the budget end, as far as I can tell. I haven't got any really good ones, but one that's special that maybe you can help me with. So they started in the 60s and they worked right through the 60s. And Schrade Imperial then bought them over in 1978. So most of my knives, except for this one, was the pre-imperial ones. This was the Joica. So I know that it's somewhere between 1960 and 78. But the rest were from 78 onwards until Schrade. Then they closed the factory about 2 years before Schrade, wrapped up the knife business in 2002. And even Benchmade came over to buy some of their old machinery that was left here. Obviously, it was probably all German, good German machinery. Um, and that's the basic history. But it was set up in a little town called Listowel in Kerry. And the famous thing about Listowel is it had a castle, and it has a castle. Whether it's just ruins, I don't know. But it was built in the 1500s, and it was the famous home of the Knights of Kerry, or the Green Knights as they were known. Again, that's a wee thing. If you want to go into history, you can find a little bit more. But the knives themselves, what I've got is just a small sample of the ones that, I've managed. A subscriber gave me a couple of these. My friend Dan gave me a couple of these. I think I bought these two on Etsy. But let's just go on to it and see what sort of knives they had. Now, apparently in the early part when they were made in Ireland in the 60s, they used Bakelite on their covers. Now, I know these are not from that era because they were from after the buyover in 78, but I believe this was just blanks that they had left lying from when they were made by Joica. And because these look like Bakelite covers. You see a lot of these on Etsy and all sorts of places. They're a couple of pounds you pay for them. But let me tell you, this is the bigger Barlow, Granddaddy Barlow, I suppose we'd call it today. What a fantastic knife. So a 4-inch blade, really substantial hand you can spread your fingers out. And the other thing I learned just looking through some of the back videos, apparently the steel was very good. I couldn't find out what steel it was, but I'm thinking, Germans, when they started, Germany always made good steel. So I'm not sure what it is. These ones are carbon steel. This one, and this one, and the other ones are all stainless steel. But this carbon steel has held up. Now, this has been cleaned up a bit. So, but what a cracking big knife. And it's still rock solid. And yet, this has just got the clip-on covers. Now, these can move up and down a bit. I'm not even getting them to do it now. But there you go. You can see them. They'll move up and down a wee bit because they're just clipped on. I suppose I could hit it with a hammer, but I'm frightened of breaking it, breaking the little clips that hold over it. Can you see there? Oh, let me just get my hand behind there. There you go. The little clips tuck in here in the center on either side and hold them together. This Barlow is much more sturdy, but it looks like Bakelite as well. So I'm not 100% sure. This one, the blades it's been cleaned up, but they have at one stage it's just been lying somewhere and bad pitting has taken place. But you can still sharpen it and get an edge on it. absolutely fine. This is a more modern one. This is definitely up in the era when Imperial, you can see it just says Imperial Ireland stainless on this. This has been badly abused. Dan just threw this in as a wee package. But I'm going to put an edge on it and see what it's like. Just clean it up a wee bit. I won't do a whole lot of restoration on them. And then I got to get to the oldest one I have. This one is the Camper's, it's called, you can see that there, the Camper's knife. And it has the Joica. I never know whether I'm saying that right or not. So I'm going to bring this up here. And let's just, there you go. Joica, Republic of Ireland. And in this, in this little article up here, there's a little bird. It looks like it's in some sort of a nut or so. I don't know what it's. It's that shape of a nut, but it's a little bird standing on a twig, and it says Joica, Republic of Ireland. The rest all just say Imperial Ireland with a little crown at the top that we're all familiar with. But this one is, I think this is in plastic. Let me take this back out again. There we go. I think this is just plastic rather than Bakelite. Really, well, I'm just not sure because this is the oldest one. It might just be Bakelite, but I don't know. It looks a bit more like plastic. But it's a lovely little knife, really well made. I mean, God, the age of it now and it's still going. The only thing that's clumsy is this big awl or punch, whatever you want to call it. It is a bit heavy and fat. It would probably go through a piece of leather okay. But you'll see in the next one just how much they refined it. But Dan had cleaned this up a bit. It was in a hell of a state. I seen it when it came into him. But it's solid, you know what I mean? It's still a camp knife and it easily could be used. There's no problem with it. This is I suppose, the modern version. It just said camper on it. And it's a bit more refined. I like that sort of jigging on the bone. It's got a bigger bail than this older one. You can see that there. It's not as fat as the older one. They have sort of modernized. It's better laid out. And if you go to this now, it's a much thinner awl or punch, whatever you want to do. But it is nicer. This is nicely made. Lovely snap to this. And look at this blade. It's a full blade. This has not been used at all, hardly. And again, there you go. It just says Imperial Ireland and the crown above the end of the Imperial. Beautiful little camp knife. Absolutely lovely. Bail's a bit loose, but I suppose I could squeeze it and see if I could get it tighter, but I'm not going to risk it. It really is tidy all the way around. This could quite easily be a Boy Scout knife that you give to your kids. So they're two lovely knives. I really like having one of the before and the after, which makes the collection good. But this one has really got me. It says on it, it's Imperial. It just says, there we go. You'll see on there, Imperial Ireland with that little crown. But this one, this blade just really does it for me. It's a gorgeous clip point, and this is a Stockman. There's not a huge amount of stop, but then again, I haven't cleaned it up much at all. I've literally just had a wee quick wipe over with this, but I reckon I could get this cleaned up lovely. All the blades are full. It obviously hasn't been used that much. Really lovely. Some of them have snapped, but I reckon I could improve that. But this one, if you look at sort of this one here, right, which was made in that same era when Imperial were doing it, Imperial Charade, this, if you can see, it's not particularly well finished. The bolsters are just cut and sliced in, whether they fit or not. This one is different. It's all nicely tidied up. No gaps. It just seems to be a class above. And I don't know whether this is just a knife I've got lucky with, but honestly, it really is. I'm going to really clean this up and carry it, because apparently as well, somebody told me that the blade steel they used was half decent. And for this age, and there's not that much marking on it, there's a wee bit of pitting in some places. But I'm going to sharpen this up and actually use it and carry it, and I'll come back and tell you. And I love the little crest. The rest are all quite just stuck in plastic. This, again, is plastic, but it's nicely jigged. It just looks a class above. So if you know anything about, did they make very basic, and then maybe something that was just a little bit above that to go back to the States or whatever. I've no idea. No idea at all. And it's just baffling me that this is such a beautiful knife to hold in hand. And if you like a Stockman, this Imperial Ireland Stockman is one that you should keep a lookout for. But it really is well made and nice and tight. Everything about it. I mean, for the age of it, I mean, what is going to be, 40-year-old, it's still looking pretty good. So there you go, folks. Not an incredibly long video, but as I find out more about it, I've done a little bit of delving there this morning just to give you a little coverage of how the Imperial trades came about, and then the Jocko, which was a German company. And apparently the manager stayed on. When it was sold over to Imperial Trade, the German manager stayed on and ran that side of the business there. So there is that connection. There you go. Paddy's away for a wee cup of tea. I hope you enjoyed that. And if the collection grows, because once you get over 5, it's a collection. So that's lovely. It'll just stay there. And I'll hope to improve. But I'm going to be looking for the Jocko ones rather than the Imperial Ireland, unless I see one like that, because that's a little beauty. Please help me if you know anything about that, if they did make a higher class one in Ireland. All right, Paddy's gone. I said Paddy's gone already. Here's twice. Bye-bye now.